Good afternoon, everyone. It is 4:30. I'd like to welcome all of you here and ask that you please join me as we rise for a moment of silence and follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if we could have roll call, please.
Pete Hamill. Ken Snyder.
Here.
Brad Hunt.
Here.
Chantal Ostra. Here. Tom Eggers.
Here.
All right, next item up is approval of the agenda. I'll take a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ostra. Aye. Eggers.
Aye.
Hint.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
All right, we now come to the point meeting where you have public forum for anyone wanting to address the council for items on or off the agenda. Anyone wishing to speak to the council at this time? Any written comments?
No.
Okay. Then we'll move on to approval for the consent agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Snyder.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Ostra. Aye. Hint.
Aye.
All right. Moving on now to item 6A. We'll begin with the 2023 report from the SCAT. Kristen, is that you? All right.
That thing's intimidating. All right, just our annual report like we have to do every year to you guys. Just a rundown of our year of 2023. We ended 2023 with 25 members, 12 EMTs, 1 AMT, 1 RN, 2 paramedics. And we do have a few EMT students that are taking the class currently, and then we also run with 2 high school students. Last year we were able to finish the year with a total of 767 calls. 514 of them were 911 calls, and then 253 calls were transfers. If you reflect back down on my call tracker, that was the biggest year of transfers since 2019. We were down a little bit from 2022 for our total call volume from 807 to 767. Moving forward into our measurable outcomes, so our CQI we present from our medical director of goals that she would like us to meet throughout the year. We exceeded all of our goals from our medical director, so that's props to all of the great work from our team. Some of the things we participated in over the last year, our Pizza Ranch delivery nights this year, we fundraised for our toy drive. We had a very successful toy drive that filled the Love Inc. closet for the kids to come and pick up toys for their family. We participated in all of the parades. Uptown trick-or-treating this year, we did something new, and we did a haunted house in our garage. That was fun, entertaining, and a lot of work, but it was a great time. Again, we participated in Rice Fest, the bike rodeo with the library, village celebration. We did a lot of community CPR throughout Sheldon. I taught quite a few classes to get a lot of our members in Sheldon CPR certified. Career days for NCC, ISU, and then we just finished another Heroes Behind the Badges. This year was fire department, and they took the cake this time, fire department and EMA, but it was a great successful year again for our Heroes Behind the Badges. We continue to have affiliations with Boyden, Osceola County Ambulances, and Sanborn. So that kind of covers and wraps up our annual report. If you have any questions on that, feel free to ask.
I do have a question, Kristen.
Yes, sir.
So transfers,
Mhm.
what does that look like in miles? How many miles of transfer did we do total?
I could get you that number, so it's about, if it's to Sioux Falls, it's about 138 miles round trip.
Right, but not all of our transfers went to Sioux Falls.
Not all of them.
Right, okay.
A good chunk of them do.
The reason I'm thinking, I'm trying to relate it to the wear and tear on the equipment. And so as our calls and transfers go up, I'm assuming our mileage goes up and therefore, utilization goes up. So I wouldn't mind seeing those numbers sometime if you don't mind, please. Yeah, thanks.
I do have them figured because I have to submit it to the county, so that's a quick, easy thing I can get you.
Sure. No pressure. Just would like to see it.
Any other questions?
Nope, just thanks for all the volunteers' hard work and dedication to providing this service to the community.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions. The first one, members, you mentioned you had 25. Do you consider yourself fully staffed, or?
We ended with 25 in December. We have since lost a few, and at 25, no, it's not fully staffed. We would like to see 35 to 40 to keep our membership running smooth and the schedule filled. But we do real good right with what we have right now. So.
Okay. Who is the current medical director? Is that somebody from the hospital?
Dr. Wingert, yep.
Wingert?
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking they had one more, but I can't think of what it is right now. So, if I think of it, I'll ask you later. Oh, yeah, the affiliations. What is the affiliation? What does that entail?
Right now, what it entails between all three of those services is we share a medical director and we share protocols. That's what our affiliation is for all three of them. The state said in January 1st of 2022 that if a service is under 100 calls, then they have to affiliate with a service that is greater than 100 calls to continue to allow them to be sustainable and to have a Big Brother program in place to, if they need help with certain things, then we can help them. But right now, all three of those services, that's what we help them with.
So you say you share protocol. Does that have anything to do with, in terms of responding? Do you respond to them, or just only if they need it, or?
It's how we treat patients.
Oh.
It's our protocols that we set, how to treat certain conditions and what we do for our patients.
All right. Anyone else? All right, and thank you again for all your work, every one of you. We appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely.
And with that, let's move on to the next item there, under which we don't really want to do.
Yep.
We need to approve of the resolution accepting Kristen's resignation. I'll take a motion for that, please.
Clarify.
Yes.
The resolution does two things.
Okay, go ahead.
It accepts the resignation as full-time EMS coordinator and places Kristen on the pay scale at the established rate of pay for the SCAT director. So she no longer be a full-time or part-time employee. She'd be a team member and an officer of SCAT.
Okay. So with that clarification, someone want to make a motion to approve that resolution?
So moved.
And do we have support?
Support.
Further discussion?
Do have a question. I think it's just a formality, and I think we can do it. I looked under the code, it's a mayor's appointment, so I assume this is just a continuation of that mayor's appointment. But do we need to have that clarified a little?
That's a good question. She was appointed previously as the director.
Director, yes.
And so that is being retained, and
Okay.
the mayor's signature would be on the resolution, assuming he supports it.
Okay.
So that's a good question. I think we have that covered.
Okay, thank you.
So is it a reappointment then to a different position? Is that what we're doing here?
No, she had basically several duties. You had training officer duty, correct? And you had full-time EMS coordinator duties, and you had director duties.
Okay, so this is
you're
a
letting go of the training officer. I probably should have had that in the resolution, but we can put that in the minutes. Letting go of the training officer and the full-time, but retaining one of those three, which is director, correct?
Correct.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, it's not what the resolution reads. The resolution reads that she is resignating notice of all of her duties except as SCAT director. So with that, that means that she's retaining her appointed position as SCAT director. Correct. Okay. I understand that then.
Which
Thanks.
we'll clarify in the minutes as well.
Yep. Okay. Very good. Thanks.
Okay. Any further questions? Not, roll call, please.
Eggers?
Aye.
Ostra? Aye. Kent?
Aye.
Snyder?
Yeah. So you'll have to wait on that. Okay.
Hello?
Ken, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, Ken, we were just calling for the question on approval of the resolution accepting Kristen's resignation. And we need did you hear the discussion that was going on?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so
That
then all
was
we
cut
need
off
is...
right at the end.
Okay, so then all we need is your vote on this then. Yes or no?
Regrettable aye.
Pardon me?
A regrettable aye.
A regrettable aye.
Regrettable aye.
What?
A regrettable aye.
Oh, okay. A simple yay or nay would be easier. Well, thank you. All right. You got them all?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Moving on then,
Did
our
you
next...
call Brad? Did she call you? Okay.
Yep.
Our next item up is presentation of the proposed pay scale. Is that going to be
That's gonna be Jared
Jared?
talking.
Okay.
All right, hello everyone. Yeah, get used to different mics. My name is Jared Johnson. I've been the assistant director for SCAT now for a month. Not too long. But I wanted to go over a few things. The first thing I wanted to go over is just giving Kristen a thank you for all of her time as the full-time and for all of her time on SCAT. She's not only helped out SCAT since she's been here, but she's been able to help out other communities too, just with guidance and questions. And that kind of goes with the affiliation agreement as well. You know, we're not in charge of those other services, but you know, for some of these other services, if they don't have as many calls, if you know, a lot of those other services, they may not have a full-time person, so it's volunteers filling in the same duties of completing paperwork, getting ready for inspections, all that stuff. Kristen has helped out greatly with that, and we're sad to see Kristen leave, but we're also excited about the new opportunity, and we're very excited to keep her on as well as the SCAT director and staying on as well as a volunteer paramedic. So thank you, Kristen, for everything you've done for us. I wanted to explain just a little bit on our operational structure. So SCAT for years was, you know, volunteers. We've had officer positions, so our current SOGs include the different officer position breakdown, but over the last 6 years, the full-time EMS coordinator position, it was kind of bundled, where we had the director, training officer, and then the full-time piece, which was what Kristen was doing. So that was the goal with this resolution. We want to see those officer positions on their own now. So it's going to be opening up a training officer position on SCAT, and then we have the director, assistant director, and secretary officer. When I started back here in the county, when I started for the county back in 2016, that was around the time frame when SCAT hired their first full-time. And what helped with that position was, during different times of the day, each month can be a little bit different, but there are times where it's hard for the volunteers to cover all the shifts. And by having full-time staff or part-time staff, that helps offset the amount of extra hours that the volunteers have to cover, and it helps us out greatly, along with having a person there who can help with cleaning the rig, cleaning the room, helping with paperwork, all that stuff. If we didn't have somebody in those positions, it would fall back on the volunteers and put more pressure on us. So it's been nice having volunteers along with paid staff, and then having officers as well where we can work together. EMS as a whole, all over the place, everyone is struggling in different ways. Hospital-based services have issues. City-based services can have issues. County-based services have issues. And there's a lot of discussion going on in regards to EMS all over. There's not a perfect model right now, but it's been working for us. We have a great group of volunteers right now that are helping step up, filling the shifts. And, we're seeing, last 3-4 years we've been seeing increases in call volume for 911 and also for transfers. I mean, it's just been higher for numbers. More people have been needing help, and we've been able to meet those needs as they arise. So I wanted to also give a big thank you to all of our volunteers. The stuff that we do on calls is very challenging. We see some terrible stuff, and it's stuff that we bring home. I mean, we help people when they're struggling, when they're suffering, and we also see people tragically pass away. And that's, the firefighters see that, police officers see that, emergency management, and EMS, and many of us have seen bad things throughout our career, and it's hard to, sometimes it's really hard to absorb that and be able to move on. And that's why it's hard to find people that want to be in this profession, because it's high stress and lots of hours, after hour stuff. So I appreciate everything that SCAT does. I appreciate everything that Sheldon Fire does, Sheldon Police, Sheldon EMA. There's lots of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that people, we make things work, and then, once the call is done, there could be several hours of cleanup, paperwork, making sure everything's ready to go for the next call. So I do appreciate everything that all of our local first responders do, and first responders do all over. I want to give the city a thank you as well for what you guys have done. There's been several really big improvements over the last 4 or 5 years. We started with 1 full-time position. Now we have 2 full-time positions, and we have the part-time, and we're trying to get, we have the part-time filled. With Kristen leaving, that'll open up another full-time, and then we have the other full-time that we're seeking a person right now. But that's been extremely important for SCAT to help offset and just to help the plan in the future. We also greatly appreciate what the city had done. I know there was a lot of work between Sam and Kristen and you guys as well for changing out that depreciation account. So now that's ambulance, ambulance revenues going to that ambulance depreciation account for expenditures, which is going to help us out as things change in the future. So thank you for what you've done in regards to that as well. I know there's struggles right now with the budget. You guys are getting hit with a lot of different stuff. I know you guys, the elected official side, the city side, there's pressure from many different departments, and you only have so much to work with. And so I thank you for being here, because it's not easy to fill city positions, elected official positions. There's not a lot of people that want to be in those roles, so thank you for what you do. I wanted to talk a little bit about the future of SCAT. So moving forward, the option that we were proposing, I kind of view it as 3 different, we made it like a 3-column table. One shows what our volunteers are being paid. The next column shows what our officers are getting paid, which officers get paid annually. And the third column shows what we'd like to see for future for paid staff. So instead of having a salary-based paid staff position, we'd like to see all the paid staff positions be hourly based and have those at an increased rate. That's one challenge that we're seeing is it's hard to get people. I mean, there's the market out there right now. There's high demand and low supply. So we're looking at increasing those rates for the hourly based on their certification level, whether they're an EMT, advanced EMT, or paramedic, and how they would be hired. And we've done some calculations on, kind of where would we be sitting on the budget end if we were to hire, let's say we were to hire all those positions as paramedics, or where would it be? And so our goal is to look at an option that would fit within our budget. And then knowing where you guys are at as well, I know there's limitations on how much the city has out of general. The city has been contributing from general to SCAT. The city's also been helping out with the benefit levy, and we greatly appreciate that. What we're looking at doing is we'd like to see this option go through, but we'd also like to see maybe an option to help you guys out as well by offsetting, if this, like last year, if the city contributed $33,000 to SCAT, is there a way that SCAT could maybe absorb that through our 911 or transfer revenue, and to help free that up for other departments that are facing some challenges? So we'd like to see a situation where we can continue to grow and be successful with SCAT, but also see if we can help out the city too with offsetting the general to help free up those funds. That's kind of the proposal that we're pushing with that change. Do you guys have any questions over that?
I guess from a vision perspective, it would be good for me to understand what the next phase of growth is, because I feel that there continues to be more regional pressure put on the department for services that other communities aren't able to sustain financially as well. And so what is that going to look like over the next 5 years? Because I think that's what we have. When we're aiming for hitting the bullseye, you gotta have something to aim with. And right now, with the kind of growth that we've taken on and the responsibilities that you guys have all fulfilled in doing that, there hasn't been a lot of vision casted on that. So what can you tell us today about the next 5 years? Are we a bigger department? Do we have 3 full-time staff? Do we have 2 more ambulances? Do we have a need for 10 more EMTs? That type of thing. Good. Because it gives us then the chance to move that vision into the future and start looking at what it's going to take financially to make that a reality.
That's a good question. So I would say a lot of services right now are on survival mode, where they have a group of volunteers and it's the same. That's what we see in a lot of different places. It's the same people. It's hard to find new people that want to be in the role. I know there's lots of communities that they have volunteers that are ready to retire, but they're not retiring at this point because they have no idea who's going to step in after they do that. I foresee SCAT still having a hybrid structure. Could there be a potential where we have 2 full-time right now and we have a part-time? Will we need another full-time? That could be an option in the next 5-10 years. I'm not 100% sure. It kind of depends. If we're doing well on the volunteer side, it's like a balance. If we're doing well on volunteers, and we have volunteers that want to take call, there's less shifts to fill. If we have fewer volunteers, there would be more shifts to fill, that's where we'd have to start looking more at the paid staff to help fill those, so we could continue at least with 911 coverage. In regards to how far to go out, there is a limit that gets reached where we're affiliated with a few other services and we're helping out other towns when they're not available. We can only go out so far before it reaches a point where it's like we can't go farther than this. Once we get to this point, it's better for this other service to take this call. Are
you talking primarily 911 call?
Yeah, 911, because the state would like to see us get to the scene within a certain period of time. They would like to see at least, first responders, even if they can't transport, there's a certain period of time where they want care to be at the patient within a certain time frame. So that itself makes a restriction on how far we can actually go out. The affiliation piece I've seen it's been a really good benefit. Just within O'Brien County, some examples like Sutherland, they affiliate with Cherokee, and Polina, they currently affiliate with Orange City. And so we're seeing some of that, and that actually helps out with training. We've offered for others to come. If they want to come to one of our trainings, they could do that. But we're hoping that those services can keep operating as well. We do have that agreement in place. Like if Sanborn, if they have no coverage, the city does get charged when we go over there. If it's a situation where they're busy on a call and there's a second call, that would fall underneath mutual aid where they wouldn't get charged. It's just when they're like, we have no one available at all, we need another town to come cover. So that's been happening. That was put together several years ago too with Archer, when Archer disbanded. That's been working well so far. So that has been an additional revenue stream as that comes in. But like we understand as well, we only can go out so far, and then it reaches the point where you have to say, is there anyone else closer that would be more beneficial to go?
So is it true that Hartley has been interested in us helping them? No.
No.
Okay.
Hartley's doing well with their current members,
Okay.
but they have a team right now that they have a lot of members that it's the same group. They take a ton of call, and so yeah, if they have members that want to retire in 5-10 years, that they'll be facing, trying to find more people to step up to help.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a challenge that we're facing right now. I mean, you never know. I mean, we could have 5-10 people join the team, and then we have a bunch of new volunteers. Right now we are fortunate here in town where we have volunteers taking a lot of call and helping out and stepping up to fill those shifts, and especially when we have Scat 2 calls, Scat 3 every once in a while. And it's important to have people here locally that can help.
And I agree with you. We are fortunate to have these people doing that. But there's also the other side of the story, which is they're also taxed by what's being asked of them to do, which is why we want more of them to volunteer.
Sure.
So I think that has to be part of the vision too, is we've got to somehow match our resources to what we do. And if our resources can't grow, then I would say that from what I'm hearing is it's going to be difficult for the department to grow in regards to extra services beyond what we're doing today. And maybe even a reduction a little bit of the services we do today would help, just because of the limited resources we do have, to maintain them.
Yeah, it's kind of a balance piece, with the calls that we have right now. I mean, the 911 transfer calls, they are bringing in revenue where it's helping us so we can maintain ourselves while also receiving some assistance from the city. And
Yeah.
like the county is going to be, the county right now, it's proposed to
Right.
give some funds again. So it's and I don't know if it would be.
I guess I'm speaking more to the time that they
Sure.
need to spend.
Yeah.
And the extra effort that they have to put forth, which goes beyond just the wage structure and the structure of the department, because that's what wears them out. That's what wears anybody out. So I guess I'm somewhat concerned about that, and that's why I'm bringing it up here. And as we're talking about vision, how do we address that? How do we address that so that we aren't overtaxing our volunteer resources?
Yeah, and that's one reason why we do want to see Kristen stay on as our director. I guess we know that we're putting in a lot of time, and there's a lot of time that it adds up. But the morale that we have on the team right now, the positive atmosphere, all that stuff makes it so we do have people they want to come to our meetings, they want to come to training, they want to take call, they want to stay busy.
Right.
If the environment is negative, then it makes it harder for people to want to stay on as volunteers. So that's been a huge positive. And I mean, we've had lots of really great SCAT leadership. That's one of our things too. Yeah, we want to make things fun. We know it's stressful, and when the call goes out, we want to be professionals, and we want to do the best that we can. But we also want to, we turn into, just like fire, police, we all turn into a family as well, where we want to help each other out and make sure people are succeeding. So.
I'll quit asking you questions.
No, it's all good, Tom. But that's the information I had for you. But yeah, thank you so much for giving us time to talk. Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Transfers this year were up high since 2019, you had said earlier. And it's like a 2-to-1 ratio this year. Last year it was 3-to-1 almost. Are transfers worth the hassle?
Oh, that's a good question.
The coverage, you've got 3 usually typically going on a transfer to Sioux Falls.
2. Yeah. Yep. Okay. And Kristen's been helping with the coordination of that to make sure we have a backup crew. But the transfers, they have been bringing in revenue. It's helped us be able to maintain our equipment, and I mean, it's helped offset expenditures. If that were to be reduced, we could see a situation where, okay, now are we starting to get closer to breaking even? Are we going to need some help from the city, from general? It's something that it's something that could definitely be looked at on a yearly basis, just to see, okay, how are things going? Where are we at for revenue, expenditures? How's equipment? And then yeah, is it too much? Is it enough? Can we manage it still? I know there's, just like what we're facing, volunteers and at the hospital end, I still hear every once in a while of staffing shortages where, yeah, they might not be able to take a patient in Sioux Falls because they don't have enough people to monitor the beds. So then the hospital here is having to keep the patient. So there's, yeah, the years when we were facing the infectious disease stuff, that changed some things as well. But it's something we want to monitor with volunteers too. I mean, we know, we can't, if we're doing back-to-back-to-back transfers, there's a point where it's like, okay, we need to give people a break. Is it becoming too much? But so far, we're able to handle it, and we have volunteers that like taking transfers, and we have some volunteers that like to do 911, some that like to do everything, some that like to do transfers, and it's working with the group that we have.
So the short answer would be yes. Most of the time, it's worth the hassle.
Yes.
Okay.
A couple of questions.
Yeah.
You said 2, is that 2 plus the driver or just 2? Okay.
And then
yeah,
the
it's
hospital
driver
sends one
and-
as well?
If a medic, if they need ALS care and a medic's not available yet.
Yeah. Okay.
So Hartley had been mentioned earlier, and that hasn't been brought up in a long time. But there was a point where Sanborn was having to cover Hartley, and we were having to cover Sanborn. Has that improved?
Yeah, Hartley's been going to cover Sanborn every once in a while too, especially if it's a call on the east side of Sanborn. The dispatcher may page out Hartley, but right now Sanborn's preferring for SCAT to be paged for city limit calls if there's a mutual aid request. That's been a request from Sanborn. If that were to change, but yeah, there's been some situations where, yeah, if there's a motor vehicle accident to the east side of Sanborn on Highway 18, they're paging out Hartley to go take that call.
So Hartley has prioritized their transfers then, because at one point they were doing quite a few transfers, and then Sanborn was having to cover Hartley's 911, and we were covering Sanborn. So that's getting better.
It sounds like, yeah, they're doing well, and
Good.
and they're handling all that stuff on their own, but I haven't had any issues come up that I've heard of. It sounds like they're doing okay.
The other question I had, you mentioned the 33,000, taking it out of the transfer fund or whatever. That is to cover, I understand that correctly, that's to cover this proposed wage increases?
No.
That was the overage from last fiscal year was $33,000. So moving forward, if there's an overage in our 911 operations, it'll be covered by our depreciation. These increases are already budgeted for, because we budget so high out.
Yeah.
We don't know how many calls we're gonna get.
Yeah, we were just looking at a way. So like in the past, the depreciation account was used to help out, law enforcement, fire, and now that pot is just for ambulance. If we have money there, and would there be a way that we could help the city by taking what was contributed from general? So that would free up, if that 33,000 was last year, so that would free up that 33,000. So if there's another department that's under, that they're trying to, or you guys are trying to figure out something else for the budget. It would just free up that revenue to be used elsewhere, if we can handle it through our 911.
And so that surplus, is that over and above the set aside for replacing equipment, ambulances and all that?
Yes.
So there's still that fund there to cover the next time the ambulance has, you'll be able to afford an ambulance without having to bond for it or whatever through the city.
Yeah.
That's
there
the
will
goal.
still potentially be an ask, but to help support us, but we could probably fund it for depreciation.
Okay.
So
And
you-
that is that structure is set for next fiscal year of us covering our overages, correct? Yep, so that's our game.
So you're not proposing any other increases in pay other than what you had in your budget of $1 per hour for the paid volunteers?
Correct.
And the 5% in the officer pay, correct?
For the full-time staff, we are.
Yeah,
But
just,
that's already
Yep.
covered in the budget. We
Yeah.
didn't specify it in the budget, but now that we've looked at our numbers, these can fit in our budget.
Yep. Yeah, the biggest change would be just with those 3 paid staff positions. Yep.
So a part-time employee EMT is $23.50, and a regular EMT that volunteers is $17?
Correct. Yep. That'd be correct.
One's a full-time job, Brad?
One's a part-time job.
Correct, but she has a full, like, they have usually a full-time job. So the volunteer difference, let's back up. The 17, you're right, the
It
$17
doesn't-
part-time EMT will be moved up to the $23.50.
So the volunteer EMT will move up to
The
$23.50?
volunteers will stay at 17.
It would just be the EMT that's in that paid part-time role. Yep. Those would be at different rates. There's different duties added onto them for stuff during the day when they're here, because those would be individuals that are actually at the station during their shift versus our paid volunteers when they're on call. They can be at work, they can be at home, and then they're responding from there. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
So you don't see an issue with the part-time EMT making $23.50, which would be their wage on July 1. So it wouldn't go up another dollar on July 1, but it'd be $23.50. You don't see an issue with that when the team member paramedics are making 20 or 21. You don't see a,
Sure. I can ask
that's not
the
going to
team.
be a
No.
issue.
No.
No, I think they understand that it's a volunteer position, and when they're paid out, they're grateful for the $17 they're getting an hour. And they understand, it's part of the volunteer aspect of it. We're not gonna get the potential $23.50 if you're an EMT. You get your call done and you get your stuff done, and they give a lot of the time for, no, it doesn't bother them.
Any other questions?
Out of curiosity, how many volunteers are on call per shift? 3?
3.
And they could have split shifts, but there's always 3 on call.
Okay.
Hey, Greg?
Yes, go ahead, Ken.
At my age, I realize, you only have so much time left to be able to do things, and it happens even with our volunteers. What are the plans, or what do you have to recruit? What are your recruiting plans, or how do you go about trying to get young people coming in?
Good question. So we've done social media posts. There's been a lot of word by mouth. If we know somebody that we maybe work with, we have a friend that we think would be a good fit. We've done that. We've had some people try ride-alongs before just to see if this would be something that they would like. And actually, I'm glad that was brought up. That's one thing we wanted to offer. If any of you would like to maybe come and whether it's a ride-along or just coming down, checking out the ambulance, we can show you kind of how the flow goes with the ambulance call, getting back, and then what we do after the call with our patient care report, with staff members cleaning the rig, making sure it's good to go to them. I think that would give a lot of insight over, okay, yep, this is what the life pack is, this is what we're using for lifting and moving the patient. These are things that we have to make sure that we're maintaining all the time. I think that'd be really good. But yeah, they've done like career days at the college, and but besides that, I would say probably one of the biggest things has been word of mouth. We're trying to, most of us we know we try to figure out who would be a good fit in this role, because it doesn't work out for everyone. Some people don't like seeing blood. Some people can't handle seeing somebody's passed away, and so we try to do some screening ahead of time, and then to see if they would like to be in that role. But the ride-along thing I think has been really good, just as a pre-screener, just to see if, hey, yeah, this is for me, or this is not going to be for me, or I don't want to be woken up in the middle of the night for a call, things like that. There are some communities that are doing sign-on bonuses. Sanborn is one that's been doing that to try to recruit EMTs. That's not something that we've looked at doing. Other incentives, we thought about some other ideas too. I mean, there's things that we could look at and talk more about in the future to try to keep people in this. And it could be something that's a mutual project, not just for us, but also for volunteer firefighters, and because I know everybody's looking for people.
So if I want to do a ride-along, who do I talk to?
Christian. Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Do a ride-along?
I do.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it'd be really good.
I have paperwork
yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
Yeah. It'd be awesome.
All right. Does that answer your question,
requirements
Ken?
The driver has. Yes, that. But I have one more.
Okay.
what requirements, like for drivers, do you need a special, can any good driver participate in that part, or do you have to have certain qualifications?
So, yeah, to be a driver, you do have to have a clean driving record. We'll start with that. But the only other qualifications for drivers are they have to be mandatory reporters and CPR certified. That's the only things that they need for driving.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Everybody got their questions answered?
Yeah, thanks.
Yep, thank you for approving the resolution to keep her, and if you do have more questions, please reach out. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Thank you all again.
So you have several options. You can either you can receive this as information and indicate that you're ready for this to come forward at one of the next few meetings, or I guess one of the things you could consider, and I can just talk about the next item if that's okay now, Mayor. The offer to the candidate for $28.50 for paramedic makes sense based on what they're earning now and the full-time status that they, or the position that they have now. The second point that I have is we've been exploring the concept of a wage study for approximately 67 part-time positions and 33 full-time positions. Would not include the SCAT, fire, or EMA volunteers, but it would include SCAT, fire, and EMA officers, and full-time and part-time staff. And so one of the challenges of having, and we've made some pay adjustments over the last few years. What we're recognizing is that it's a very difficult market, and what we don't want to do is run into pendulum swings where we're making constant tweaks to the system that we have now. And so the council, certainly the council's prerogative if they want to make these adjustments. If you're asking me for my recommendation, which some of you have, council members, my recommendation is that you support the offer for the full-time candidate, that we post Kristen's position as DOE and plan to hire the same, but not formally set that number, because it could end up being a range. Hopefully it won't be higher than $28.50, but it might be less because the person that you're hiring for the second spot has a lot of experience. So that's something that needs to be considered. And then the part-time EMT. I do believe that there's a risk, and it's not a risk that can't be overcome, but there is a risk in making a decision today to increase someone's pay by $6.50 an hour, even though it is a part-time position. I shouldn't say even though, because it is an important position. I don't want to belittle it, but it is a pay adjustment that can then set a precedent. So that was one of the reasons why having a pay study or a compensation study was important, but we hadn't planned on starting the compensation study until July, and the compensation study probably also wouldn't include the union positions either. That's based on the recommendations I'm getting from other entities that have local governments that have done this. So I know I've said a lot there, but to very quickly summarize, my recommendation is to approve the offer to the candidate, which is this next item, post Kristen's position as DOE, and then we use what we just discussed as guideposts, that we at an upcoming meeting discuss the wage study, and that we consider deferring the part-time EMT adjustment until later. So those are my recommendations, and using the meatloaf quote, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So those are my, and that's not saying we're saying no. It's just we're posting these positions as DOE, and you know, and if there's a real concern with the recommendation that I have just made and it causes consternation, then perhaps a counterpoint would be, let's take it to 18 or 19, but having it be $23.50 when the paramedic volunteer position is 20. It creates an inequity that, even though everybody says they're okay with it, as a professional city manager and someone who used to be a compensation analyst, to me, there's an issue. And I just want to disclose that to you, but it also isn't a terrible issue, but it's something that I just wanted to mention. Thank you.
In case any of you were wondering, like I was, about the DOE, all of these,
Oh, I'm sorry.
depending on experience. Took me a little while to get caught up.
Department of Energy.
These acronyms get thrown around so often, it's just like, what's that? If you're not in the business, but I do understand. I get it figured out thanks to Angie. Anyway.
Yeah. I guess the big things today, you know, the resolution keeping Kristen is big, and then also the 2850 for hiring a new person is really big as well. I guess with what we've seen in the last 4 years, you know, Kristen's the 4th full time that we've seen gone. So you know, at some point it would be really nice to have something in place just to say, okay, where are we at? Where should we be so we can keep people? The proposal that we had in there was based on some data that we had collected looking at private-based services, the hospitals, also city-based services. Some places it's hard to get data from if they're not able to share it. Yeah, I mean, if we could continue to have a discussion over that, that'd be great. We'd appreciate it. We're just we want to figure out where we can be to be competitive, so we can keep people and make it so they're getting paid what they should be getting paid. And so I appreciate you guys thinking about it. I'm not opposed to continuing to have more discussion on it, but.
All right, does anyone have a proposal of how you would like to handle this, based on Sam's recommendation, based on what we've heard from SCAT?
I'll make the motion to entertain the offer of the $28.50 for this candidate for the paramedic position.
Second.
So that's really item 4. What I'm going to suggest is that we just accept the presentation for information and then move on to item 4 on our agenda as with the motion you've just given. Everyone in agreement with that?
I think the wage study is a very important element.
Say it again?
The wage study is a very important element that we
I
don't
agree.
have available.
I agree.
And the issues that we're talking about here tonight with the presence of SCAT, there's other departments that also have to be considered.
Mm-hmm.
And for this group to decide a full direction over the next 5 years or so, which should be our vision, right? We need to make sure we know where we're at, and the wage study is the basis for that. So I don't want to start, if we can, we either have to be more timely with the wage study and then get ahead of what we were talking about as far as time frame, or we keep our time frame and we discuss all of the departments at the same time. So yes, I think we should take it. Thank you for the information. It's greatly appreciated and used, but I think our discussion needs to be about the timing of the wage study. So.
All right, so we'll receive that item 3, subpoint 3 under there for information, and then Brad has made a motion to authorize the full-time candidate offer, paramedic candidate offer. We need a support for that.
It's our, I support.
We did, oh, okay, very good, I missed that. All right, so any other further discussion regarding that motion now? The offer to the paramedic candidate. Anything from you, Ken?
Nothing for me.
Okay, then I'm gonna call for the question. Roll call, please.
Snyder?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Ostra?
Aye.
Eggers?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everyone. Good discussion, appreciate it. So, let's move on to item B then, approving a resolution setting the date of a consultation and a public hearing on a proposed amendment number 8 to the amended and restated Sheldon Urban Renewal Plan. Any comments?
I do. I'd like to just make a couple of comments. This could have been on consent, but this is a big item, and because we're moving forward now with the public hearing, March 20, proceeding that on February 29, we have the consultation with taxing entities. The consultation with taxing entities isn't going to be nearly as interesting as before because the state legislature has changed the levy process. So the way the levies work now, release of TIF doesn't have the benefit to other taxing entities that like it did before, and so there hasn't been as much interest in the consultation meeting as there has been in the past, but I've already been providing the other entities, the 2 counties and NCC and the Sheldon School District with information on the meeting. Let's just take a brief look at the draft amendment, and if there's any questions, I don't know if all of you had a chance to look at it. We can skip over the previously authorized items and go to page 11. You have updates to previously approved projects. You have a quote reset of the LMI residential item. LMI, since I messed up on explaining the acronyms earlier, that's low to moderate income use of tax increment financing, and there's income levels that need to be considered if you're going to incentivize development using TIF. You have airport improvements, which is the budget for next year. The budget we're considering is actually lower than the amount in the urban renewal plan. Hopefully we won't have to update this for a little while. You have some stormwater blight remediation projects that this considers, including Wyman, right, Todd? That's in the budget. Yep. And then you have remediation of blighted properties. It's resetting that. It does include, please go to page 17 because this is important, the public safety building project. This is not site specific. It is only site specific in the sense that if you're going to use urban renewal dollars, it must be in the confines of the urban renewal map. Otherwise, it's not eligible for any TIF funding, and the map is separately linked under this agenda item. It does include East Lawn Cemetery for the first time. It also includes some recreational items. It includes a potential shop local program to participate in Merry Money. That one is not budgeted in the next budget, but could be handled in the budget amendment. So I've said enough. Anybody have any questions?
So the consult meeting on the next week, correct? Next week, Wednesday?
Yes.
29th. That's with who?
That is, the required participants by state code are the 2 counties and the Sheldon School District. NCC is not a required participant per state code, but I have always invited them because they're affected in a peripheral sense by what we
And that's
do.
a meeting with council or just you?
No, it's open to council if you want to come, but it's only with, it's me and the taxing entities, and I answer questions and take minutes and then deliver that feedback to you. It's a required part of the adoption.
Okay. Any other questions?
I would like to thank Todd and Angie for their hard work on this.
All right. If there are no other questions, then I would accept a motion to approve the resolution setting those dates and the public hearing.
Make the motion to approve those hearings and dates.
Support.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Eggers.
Aye.
Ostra.
Aye.
Hand.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
All right. Moving on to reports. Anything further from you, Sam?
No, sir.
Todd, you've been away. Is there anything you want to tell us about your little escapade?
Motion to strike.
How'd you know?
Give us a report on your training. What'd you learn?
Okay.
Unless you really want something, then I'll...
So,
We're
just
supposed
a-
to have one takeaway from your conference.
Yeah, just a little
That's it.
brief summary would be nice.
DNR and EPA regulations are continuing to change, and there'll be new criteria coming at us. How about that?
Did that put you to sleep?
Oh, those can be painful, but yet they're important. No, there was a lot of good coursework. That is a good conference that the Iowa Water Association puts on. Joined with me this time were wastewater superintendent Dean Paulson and water superintendent Dave Andriga. But it's the largest, and I didn't catch the number, but they did notice that they did announce that was the largest attendance that conference ever had. And they also had a record amount of vendors. That one reason we really enjoy that conference. You spend a lot of time with manufacturers, consultants, looking at new products, talking about meter technologies and anything else you can imagine. So that held at the Iowa Event Center. We fill up the whole bottom floor and about 50% of the upper floor this year. So
Good. All right. Thank you. Mark, anything from you today?
Just the fact that a recruitment process for all three positions is continuing to heat up, and we're working on some offer letters to some various folks, and we're hoping that something comes together here in the near future.
Very good. Thank you. Chief Birch, anything today from you? No, thank you. All right. Ange?
No, thank you.
Micah?
No, sir, thank you.
Council to my left
Nothing.
and to my right.
Nothing.
The only thing I want to mention, and I saw it in the paper today, Scott Stallman, there's a pancake feed at the Lutheran Church on Monday night. Scott's battling certain kind of cancer. It's only a matter of time, but just prayers for that family, and if you can go out and support them on Monday night at the Lutheran Church pancake supper, I encourage you to do that. So, that's all I have. Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Snyder.
Aye.
Hand.
Aye.
Ostra.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Hey, it's Jerry. Shoot. There's a little gift right there.